But yeah, so like when they do act that would make sense to have people, think higher of them, I'll tweak their reputation score a little bit, and eventually it gets to the point of, them having some real significant uh benefits, like if it gets up to like 30 or 40,
Hmm.
that's a really big number on a percentile die.
So, like, when you're saying like the odds that
Mhm,
somebody will help you, how do you come
mhm.
up with like the like difficulty? Like,
The difficulty? Yeah. So if the way I do it usually is a lot of the numbers that you're going to need to hit to get someone to help you, depending on the task, right,
hmm.
are potentially over 100 on the percentile die.
Oh, okay.
So, like, if you walk into the mayor's office, right, and you're like, hey, mayor, we just got into town. Can you help us find a place to sleep for the night? He's going to tell you to get out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Unless
But
you
if you're
like
the
have
town heroes,
like a
yeah,
120, where it's like, oh, of course,
exactly.
I drop everything I'm doing.
Yeah, 120 is like, okay, this person is of note in this town. They have like done some like deeds that have held them in high esteem, and the mayor is like, yeah, these people I should be gracious to. They show up in
Yeah,
the office, they're like, can you put me up in a place to sleep? And the mayor's like, that would cost me like 4 gold for a room for them or something.
yeah.
4 to 10 gold. The mayor will be like, of course, I'll put in a good word for you and get you in the good tavern, you know?
That's that's you.
Yeah,
You on to some.
exactly.
You struck gold with this. Hold up. Okay, right.
But yeah, look,
And
that's the
favors
way.
with gods.
Yeah, a favor, and I run it the exact same way
Yeah,
for
that's
favor from the gods check because I think it's a little lame that only cleric gets to do it
yeah.
in the rule. Yeah, warlock has the same sort of thing going on, but no rules for how to contact and ask gods for favors, you know? So I do the same thing. I'm like, look, the more acts you do in devotion to your god, especially if they come at personal expense of you, the higher you're going to push up
Mm,
that favor thing. So like the cleric that spends 20 gold purchasing a gilded holy symbol.
that's so, dude. Oh my!
Yeah.
I gotta stand up. I gotta. Oh my god. Oh
Yeah,
my god. Why do I not come to this Discord more? Oh my lord, bro. Oh
there's
my.
nothing in the rules that
I
like rewards a cleric for investing in their faith, but if you use the sort of favor system, you can say, yeah, you spent like a good third of your earnings of that last mission on just a
oh, I
bauble for
took
your
out my
god.
headset. I just gotta. I gotta.
Sorry.
That's such a good gameplay addition. Oh my god, dude. There's no way. Why is this, dude? That's such a good.
Well, there you go. Glad you like it. And of course, if you run your gods like the Greco-Roman gods, the pantheons, right?
Yeah.
They really like being worshipped, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but they also hate being asked for favors.
Yeah.
So to prevent the system from getting out of hand, uh, any favor asking your god to do anything just resets the bar. Successfully asking your god to do something resets the bar.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That way it'd be like, you can't go knocking on God's door asking him to solve every problem, right?
Yeah. That makes
You get a
sense.
bonus and it's like, oh, if you want to ask God to personally come down and do something, right?
Yeah.
Blow up a fort, maybe not. Bless your sword and make it like +2. That's probably 150 on a D percentile.
That's so clever.
Yeah.
Oh
And if
my
you succeed on
god.
the
That's
roll, all
such a
that
good
favor vanishes
storytelling
and you get
beat.
what you ask for.
That's such a good storytelling beat. What the fuck, man?
And the best part is I usually just keep those numbers behind the screen, you know?
So do your players know about like this reputation system though? Like,
Oh yeah, I tell them if they'd like to engage with that sort of thing that that's how I'll be doing it, and I'll be doing it behind my screen so that they will get rewarded for spending their money on baubles, right? Or
yeah,
participating in good faith acts in the town.
that's so fucking clever.
hmm And I tell them that on the when it comes to resetting when you ask the god for a favor, right? I tell them that since fair is fair, you know?
Yeah.
And that way they understand that in a real emergency they can ask for a miracle and they might get it depending on how faithful they've been. But yeah, for other roles, if you have a particularly good-hearted person they run into, you can just treat it as like charisma maybe, but like uh you could make it less than 100, like an 80 or something, you know,
Yeah, that's
if you think they
dude,
would naturally be inclined to be kind.
this has just changed like my whole perspective as it pertains to this like just field of gameplay. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Most role-playing systems don't have a
They
great
don't,
a
they
way to deal
suck.
with, yeah, to deal
Dude,
with fucking
I have
honor, like stuff like that.
I have thought about how to make like an incentive system like this for so
hmm
long with just like not really like any success, you know? But I
hmm
feel like this has a lot of potential. It might just be the straight up solution. Like this might like put this in the rules and homebrew channel, you know? Like
Yeah.
this just works.
I find that it gets a lot more role play out of it when they can't see the number, too.
Yeah.
Like when you tell them it will go up and down based on their actions, but don't let them see the number, so they're like, no, we need to do good for the city. You know, it will gain us a reputation here, which you can remind them of by rolling it without them asking and being like, oh, the shopkeeper recognizes you because you saved his son last week. Uh,
Dude,
and he's like, no, whatever those rations are, take them. You know?
that's so clever. Oh, hold up. I gotta think again. Hold on. All right, I got
Yeah.
it. Yep. Do you break it up into like regions, you know, like towns,
Depends.
like town do each like I imagine each town has a sort of like reputation.
Usually I'll do it like that unless the towns themselves are aligned, you know?
Yeah, unless there's
Um,
like a major road where you know like this
yeah, yeah.
information could travel. I imagine
Right.
like I might do it
Or
to
it's
where
one
like
kingdom.
cities like if you have like a reputation in a city, it
hmm
might like it'll travel to like the like nearby towns within maybe like a 50-mile radius or a 100-mile radius.
Yeah, what I usually do is if these two factions of people that you're trying to use your like let's say you get up to like plus 30. So like I would consider that to be like genuine people of note. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like you see them on the street and you would wave. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it's not like you're gonna never wash your hand if you should manage to shake their hand. You know what I mean? Not living
yeah.
saint levels, but well-known heroic person, we'll say maybe. Up to plus 30, plus 40, somewhere in there.
Like
I usually, Mhm.
a colleague perhaps, you know? Like
Yeah, like I mean, like small town hero. You know what I mean? Or that person who helped out that one time, or
how you would
say
wave at a professor you really liked.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, exactly. Like you know of like a really good professor on your campus, you know they put in a lot of work, you've taken their class, maybe you haven't, you see them walking down the street, you're like, hey, um, I probably wouldn't give them much of a bonus in that, or like what I would do is I would start them out at like maybe +5 somewhere else.
Hmm.
So it's like, oh, you're recognized. Maybe they don't know, maybe they don't believe the story, or maybe they've not heard all the stories.
Hmm.
They heard of you,
Yeah.
and that lends you some legitimacy. So you already start out at a bonus somewhere else. Alternatively, I mean, let's say you go to a completely rival faction, and they
Oh.
hear that you're this hero in another city that they hate.
Does it go negative?
Could
Mm.
if they are genuinely set against each other, but the party is still allowed to like
Yeah.
be in there.
There might not even be a point for a reputation. Unless you wanted to
Mhm,
do like if your reputation gets so like bad against
mhm.
this one group that they start actively like seeking you out.
Yep. I don't usually have to do negative
Yeah.
reputation because at that point, um, they're just not really interested in reputation. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Uh,
The
I find it's
players want to kill those motherfuckers.
yeah, exactly. At that point you just consider it to be like you know what's going to happen as the
Yeah.
DM. They're pissing people off. People are getting mad. Maybe a mob forms or something like that.
Yeah, that makes
Uh,
sense.
but if I do track it into the negatives, um, I don't really treat it. I treat it like roles. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'll use it for roles, but like I said, most of the roles that I'm using it for are over 100 anyway.
Hmm. Yeah.
So there's not really a point in rolling it if you don't have 101.
Yeah.
Um, but I will keep track of like at -50, shops would like lock their doors if they saw you trying to enter. That style of thing.
Oh, that's some heat.
Mm-hmm.
That's heat. Oh my god. You could. Oh,
Go on.
wait. Okay, this is gonna sound stupid. We haven't talked in a very long time, so you gotta forgive me.
No, go on.
Is your name Luke?
You're right, correct.
Okay. Oof. Um.
100% right, which is better than I could ever do.
So you were talking about how we were struggling to
Mhm.
do villains, right?
Oh yeah. And
And
I
this
usually
just.
let the players do it, or and that was the beginning of this. I every once in a while I'll do a prison break one shot.
Huh, huh,
And I'll say, make whatever you want to make, because
uh-huh.
the players will set the tone for the game that they want to play.
Yeah.
And I'll use those villains that they make if I like them,
Oh,
because they know they're making someone who's in prison.
yeah. I was
I had
thinking.
someone, yeah, I had someone make a murderous ent. That was a really good one.
That's cool.
Um, it was an ent that lived in an ent village,
Hmm.
and they only woke up once every 100 years.
Oh,
Uh, and then one year the ent woke up and all the other Ents in the village had been logged, and a human village had been built around it.
no! No! Oh
So,
no!
yup. And so this Ent woke up, and chose violence, very reasonably so,
Shout it to the heavens.
yup,
It's, uh,
and just started killing any human could come across after waking up in the middle of this small
oh,
logging
I
town.
am so stealing that. I am
No, take
so
it.
stealing. That is
It is.
so funny. What the
Mhm.
fuck? That's so funny but cruel and so fucked up.
It hurts as soon as you hear it. uh, so this player, she was great. She was like, yeah, he woke up at the logging town, killed all his friends, so he started killing the logging towners, and then they caught him and sent him to magical creature jail, which is what I said it was.
Yeah. So
Uh,
I was
when
thinking,
she, when she broke out of prison, well, let me spit this out
yeah.
quick before I forget it.
Well,
When she broke out of prison, they launched themselves out with an earth spirit,
Yeah.
which is how they wound up leaving. All the other players had some way to mitigate fall damage or ignore it. She did not, so she, instead of trying to mitigate the fall damage, asked if she could aim for a different logging town and hit them with her body. So she did, and it wound up hitting with the force of a small meteorite.
Yeah. Oh my brethren.
Exactly. What have you done? Grabs an axe and starts to cut down the people.
Fuck. That's brutal to think about.
Yep.
So I was thinking, what if you
Hmm.
had like, this reputation
Hmm.
where like you have your player characters, they have a negative reputation with this specific group inside of a city.
Hmm.
Give that group like control um to a certain region in the city where like maybe the shopkeepers themselves, like the people of the city themselves, or like in this region or district, don't like you or dislike you, or
Hmm.
maybe they
Hmm.
do like you but they're not
But
allowed
they
to
pay their
show it.
protection
Yeah.
money. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's that's really interesting.
For sure. I think
I'm
I
gonna
think
grab a
really what I
charcoal.
just need to do is start like attaching names and occupations to ambiguously bad people and seeing if the party takes offense to them.
Yeah.
That might be how a villain is born.
I can tell you
Yep.
I'd
Mhm.
say the most successful small villain I had for a campaign that was like sort of disconnected from the B bag entirely, if you would like to hear.
Oh, sure, yeah, please.
So, there's this town, right?
Hmm.
Um, it is. Trying to find my map. Sivgor, Sivgor, Sivgor. Hold up. Status pending. Pre-hell. Um, so before that, oh, tell me I typed their fucking name. I had to have. No way I did it. Ah, yeah, I did. Okay, so in a small, like more so hamlet. Yeah, it's like a hamlet, so very small. It
Hmm.
only has like 3 guards, which are like the town's like just strongest people, or
Okay.
better, but they have swords.
The
Um,
strongest, most capable people who got swords.
yeah. So in this hamlet, there is this singular like shop owner that's like or general store owner named
Hmm.
Ina. Um, she has like great ambitions of like really wanting to. She wants adventure. She wants magic items. She wants to be able to sell magic items. She like thinks the idea of the mysteries of the world are so fascinating. But of course, she's lived her whole life like just living simply, and she can't be an adventurer. And the town doesn't have she can't be an adventurer because she's simply not strong enough and doesn't have you know she died, right? But the
Yeah.
town also doesn't have, or the hamlet doesn't have enough money to, or attention to really bring in that sort of market of like magical items. Um,
Right.
but I gave her a treasure. She had one set of magical items. It was like a set of 5 magical rings in like a little
Okay.
lockbox case.
I love
Um,
that. I love magical rings.
and the villain of this story is uh, a bandit. I can't remember his group's name, but basically, there is. I need to find this. Dragar. Village NPCs. Wrong village NPCs. NPCs. Uh, Hearth. think I think this is gone forever because I have no idea.
Oh
They
no.
saved the art. But anyways, there is a a bandit group that has a leader named Ironhill. That's his name. And
Hmm.
Ironhill had a very previously, right, had a very intimate relationship with Ina. But
Okay.
things went south, and he ended up. He still visits her, inside, like in the town, like in the hamlet. Sort of breaks into her place, in like the late night times. Um, but he stole these rings, from her, and has been like him and his lackeys have been like basically stealing things from her or making her do like horrible things before the adventurers have arrived, right? Before the party
Hmm.
arrives for the past like few months, every now and then, they just sort of show up. So they are like the major antagonist for the story that's happening in this small town or hamlet. Um, and so the party, they met Ina, they were sympathetic to her story. They really wanted to like they liked the idea of, yeah, having a magic shop in a small like town as a merchant. And you seem to love your job. That sounds wonderful. Like and then they find out more about what's happening in the background, and the Iron Hill Bandits. Um, and again, he's not connected to the B-Bag of the campaign, but it is a moment for them to sort of weigh, like, do we want to delay what we're doing, or
Hmm.
do we want to help out this NPC? How much does this small hamlet really mean to us, even though we're only going to be here for a small period of time, right?
Hmm.
Um, and that's how I really try to set up like villains
Yeah.
that aren't
With a
connected to,
victim.
yeah, like have a
Yeah.
victim, but also like make it to where the players really have to debate whether or not something is worth it, you know? Um, or if they should instead just pursue the main thread. I will say another thing. I run a sandbox game. Basically, every time I run a game, it's sandbox. Um, so it works a bit better in that regard. If you had like a more structured story that wasn't so like exploration focused, I could see it to be a lot more challenging. But just I would say just make it really small.
Yeah.
And there's actually a document I made. It's a DM support document. Tabletop RPG Simple NPC Creation Guide. I'll stream it real quick. Can you see the
Yeah.
stream?
Simple NPC creation guide. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
So
Foundation.
this is just a list of like small traits that you can sort of come up with to make several types of NPCs. Um, well, the summary is not working. Um, one of them though is local villains. Um, and really, in addition to like the characters like foundations,
Hmm.
um, just give them a criminal specialty and a redeemable quality. Boom, bam, pow. That's it. Um, the rest is just like, is there a reward for taking down this villain? Is it like
Yeah.
better improving your reputation? Or I hate that I used AI art here. I didn't realize it until way afterwards. It always bothers me. Anyways,
Happens.
Um,
Especially in the early days when it's like harder to, no
yeah,
one was on the lookout for it as much.
I was not at all. I
Yeah.
don't, no, I
It's
made
funny that you can
this.
just tell at a glance now, though.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, there's so much AI out there that I'm like, yo, yeah, that's obvious.
yeah, I made this in February of this year, so it was like just completely blindsided me. Um, but
No,
just
it's a very cool document. Yeah,
thank you. Um,
very well done. It's also very clean editing wise.
Thank you. I did it in Google Docs. Sucked. Never
You made
want to
that
do
in
it again.
Google Docs?
Yeah,
Holy shit!
I have a few documents like this, but
Oh, damn impressive.
I'm a sweat. I can't lie. I'm a sweat.
Well, this is some people's relaxation, you know? My brother makes like uh he'll make oh, what's it called? The software, the with all the blocks. God, I know it. I've used it for so much. It's
Obsidian,
falling right out of my head. No, not Obsidian. Uh,
a software.
no, it's very commonly used by like fucking hedge firms and things like that. What's it?
Foundry.
No, it's not a TTRPG thing.
Oh,
It's
what's the
spreadsheet,
hobby? Oh, oh, stack. Fucking. Lucid chart.
maybe. I don't think so, but it's something like that. Anyway, he'll make charts in things very mathematically. No, no.
Oh,
Um, on like Dead by Daylight characters and things for fun. You know what I mean? Like his games and
oh,
things.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and he'll do like, oh, how many characters can do this? How many characters have access to that? You know what I mean? And that's just fucking fun. And I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense.
It is. That is cool.
But no, I'll try and use some of those formulas for creating NPCs. It's
There's a.
generally,
If you want, I can send you the document. It's very small.
yeah,
Um,
you know what? Sure, why not? That'd be super helpful.
how
See,
do I
will it
find?
fit over Discord, or do you want me
Yeah,
to send
if
you
it's
an
over Discord.
email? Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, I'd love it then.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Um,
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and save that. Thank you kindly.
no problem. I like kind of mixing and mashing them sometimes. So like
Hmm.
stealing some traits from others, but like from other
What I'll pro
categories.
Yeah, what I'll
Um,
probably do is I'll wind up because I'm starting up a. I took a long pause from one of my worlds just to dream up stuff again, you know,
yeah, I get you.
and so I'm restarting it in the near future with a group, two players who are new, you know,
Hmm.
um, one of whom is completely new to
Oh,
TTRPGs at all.
that's cool.
And what I may do is I may run their NPCs, their positive and negative NPCs, through this
Oh,
and make like minor, because they rarely have like a ton of details to them, you know?
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, this is very much like I really like this guide.
Hmm.
Um, but it's very much best used for small NPCs. It's
Hmm.
really, I honestly, that's kind of a lie. I would say it's best used to create a foundation for simple NPCs that you can like,
Yep.
and it very much easily allows you to expand upon it later on. But
Yeah, that's
um,
usually what winds up happening is like whatever context a party winds up meeting, their positive or negative NPC usually winds up defining them
yeah,
because they'll just keep on going on that path unless the party intervenes,
that makes
which
sense.
is usually pretty good. It does a great job of like I get people who are like, "Oh, I want to send money to my family, and that's their positive NPCs, their family.
Yeah.
Because the most frustrating character I ever DM'd for, and it wasn't any of the players' fault. It wasn't even a bad character. The character was just completely detached from the world.
Yeah.
They were like a loner, and all of their family had wound up dead. And they sent me like this
Mm.
very well drawn out, crafted backstory. But the backstory basically ended with, so now he wanders alone.
Mm.
And I'm
That
like,
that is very difficult to work with.
yeah, that sounds like the end of a story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was the character backstory that inspired me to say, all right, from now on, you have to have one positive connection who would do you a favor, and one negative connection who would
That's
harm you.
that's cool.
And I usually say they have to be about equivalent, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
So if you really want your friendly contact to be the king of a nation who will do you favors, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, then I guess an archmage wants you dead.
Yeah. That's really good. That's such a good idea. Oh my god. That's that's fucking sick. I'm
Yeah.
so that's
No, steal away, please.
yeah. That is. Thank goodness I opened up OBS. Thank fuck. I'm gonna share this with some of my friends.
No, by all means. But
Oh, this
that
is
way,
dude.
some people are
This
like,
is
oh,
so
if the
helpful.
town guard, if the town guard has something against you, then
This is so
your
helpful
friendly
for.
winds up being like a shopkeep that gives you bread.
Dude, this is so helpful for getting any character into any campaign. Like it's
Yep.
so good. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Oh my goodness. That
It
is
is a rule that I have stuck to since I thought of it. I mean, this has consistently improved my player experience.
yeah, that is and scaling it as well, like where you have like,
Hmm. And for the people who go like,
powerful
oh, well,
allies, powerful.
the guy who hates me is like this evil wizard, right?
Yeah.
They don't get to meet their tie-ins until the party's like level 8 or something.
Yeah.
So there's always someone who does like a bigger one, like a knight of the realm who hates them or something, right?
Hmm.
Or winds up with that equivalent. They want a local wizard to like them, a local knight hates them, right?
Yeah.
They wind up being later in line, and there's always someone who's like my best friend, the beggar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there's like a town drunk who hate them, and they start
They,
because all
right
the
off
players
the
always
gate,
set
they
diff.
start
Yeah,
swinging.
yeah. The party like opens up and like the beggar is outside like, hey, I lost my chicken, my only chicken. You know what I mean? And that's the party's first quest, is to go retrieve the beggar's chicken.
That's really cool. I
And
was
without fail, with these early ones, they always go back to help them again.
yeah,
They
big
always
time.
like they hit level 3 when they have like a real equipment, and they'll go back and be like, look, man, we built you a little shack out in the woods so you have somewhere to stay.
That's
You know?
so cool. That's so dude.
Mm-hmm.
I will say in this like guide, like my two favorite ones are
Mm-hmm.
commoners
Yep.
and
Here, let me pull up the copy
merchants.
I've got.
Merchants and commoners. I think I really like merchants, but like commoners
Mm-hmm.
I like so much more because it can be really it's deceptively difficult to make an interesting commoner NPC.
Oh, for sure. I'm usually pretty good at making interesting like uh shopkeeps,
Yeah.
merchants. Yeah. But a commoner, it's like, isn't the goal to be kind of basic?
Yeah. So the big thing I thought of was
Mm-hmm.
them like a commoner, all commoners have an idea of like a better life. Um
Ooh.
Something that is like unattainable, like a dream of like marrying the princess that lives, in that big keep over there or in like that big mansion. Um
Or the penniless farm boy wants to own a horse.
yeah, or
As
like
anything like that. Yeah.
yeah, or like become a knight or like things
Mhm.
like yeah, things like that where it's
Yeah, what the peasant's dream is then.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I didn't think about that. That's true.
It From my experience, it seems to add a lot to the character.
Yeah,
Um,
because it makes if they're like a dull and they're like, "Oh, I'll work the farm until I die," then who's
mm,
gonna want to interact with them?
yeah.
Yeah. No, that
Um,
makes complete sense.
but that's also like information that you gotta like almost conceal in some way, where
Yeah,
it's not at the forefront of the character, but if you talk to
because
them, you may
hmm
find it out.
yeah, that makes sense. And then you just keep that format and like save it
Hmm.
so that if they don't talk to the NPC you thought they would and wind up with a different one, you either just choose that format or a different one.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. All roads lead to Rome style thing.
Yeah. Right.
No, that's pretty brilliant. Thank you.
No problem.
I
Thank
will
you. This has been extremely productive.
tell me about it. 1 a.m. conversation about DM styles.
Yeah. Dude, this works so well because I've been coming up with although I've been coming up with a lot of good ways to incorporate adventurers as being a like integral part of the world and
Hmm.
generating ideas on what scenes the player characters might interact with adventurers,
Hmm.
whether as in opposition or in assistance, or just by complete coincidence when there are no stakes at all.
Hmm.
This feels like a mechanic, something that I can hold on to. It makes
Hmm.
sense. It provides incentive. It also, like, for character creation, that sort of thing, like, it, it just is something that would help out so much more to just tie things together. You
Oh
know,
yeah, no. Every every
it
time I
gets
get
the
into a
players
conversation.
involved.
Yes, exactly. It brings the cooperative storytelling
Yeah.
elements. It's every time I wind up talking with someone about DMing stuff, like DM tips and tricks. I always bring this up. I'm always like have them present themselves with a an ally and a villain, uh, because it just makes it honestly, if nothing else, it tells you what game they want to play.
Yeah, that's true.
Because yeah, because if they choose a guard as their villain, they
Hmm.
want to play a heist campaign. They want to be in the city and breaking into buildings and things. But if they choose a monster as a villain, they want a monster slaying campaign.
Yeah, that's
Because
dude.
players, every time I ask players, what kind of campaign do you want to play? They always say, oh, whatever you're doing, or whatever you're playing. I want to have
That's
fun with you.
true. That's
They
so
never
true.
tell me.
It's no matter how many polls you put out, no matter
Hmm.
it always
Yep.
comes to the same thing. They
They
just want to
always
play the
say,
game and they don't. They don't realize how much control they have.
yep. And so when you say, oh, make a little minor villain who may or may not matter, they will tell you what villains they want to find.
Yeah.
So I always want, like, if they say a guard, I make a corrupt city official wind up the big bad evil guy.
Yeah.
Because
That's
same thing,
yeah,
you know?
dude. Hell yeah. This is fucking rad. I'm gonna hop off here in a moment because I had to like well clean up the kitchen and then when I get
Yeah.
back, I'm just gonna write about this a bunch. Um
I gotta get going too. My cat's glaring at me. He says it's too late.
Same. Well, thank you very much for talking with me about all this. This is awesome.
Of course, yeah.
I
Thank you for
greatly
sharing your
appreciate it.
documents.
Um, I will keep in touch and tell you how things go when we get there. One last
Sure.
thing I wanted to mention, uh,
Hmm.
MMO style campaign. I think it is so. It has nearly endless benefits, but the biggest
Hmm.
one that I really appreciate, and insurance, to be fair, because you have to
Yeah,
write a
to be
lot.
fair.
You have to write a lot, a lot, a lot. But the biggest thing that I think is like its greatest benefit is that you can have the players all come up with the wackiest things and it still works. Like this kobold character wants to fight this, ancient dragon that, subjugated its people, but he ended up living somehow. That can be there in an MMO. that can be there,
Yep.
you know? Like someone who
I
just is a really like one of the player characters is a thief inside of a city that, really just has a big enemy with these guards or like one like specific guard, Um
mhm.
perhaps like some sort of officer or captain that that can be there, some sort of heist mission can be in an MMO. Um the it just it works so well. Monster slaying, that can be there.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
charity, like temple worship, like god stuff,
Mhm.
research,
Divine
alchemy, like wizard battles, um
politics. Politics.
politics, dude, it's all there. It's I
No,
didn't
it's
realize until like a few like probably when did I start thinking of the MMO idea? Maybe like a month and a half ago. How
mhm.
much I feel like D&D just begs to be run as a as an MMO. Planes
Yeah.
of
No. There's.
existences. Planes of existences. MMO,
Yep.
perfect. Like
Yep. Different instances, different worlds. It makes so much sense.
That's why
Uh,
I need Riot Games to make an MMO. But
no, they do excellent with their world building. I will give them that.
yeah, it is superb.
Before my cat gets up and tries to kill me, I'm gonna sign off and go to
Yep.
bed.
Have a good one.
Thank you again. Good